Mark, thank you very much indeed. On the subjects of Steve Bruce, he's lost only 4 of the previous 30 games in the league he's managed against his former clubs. So he does like going back and causing 1 or 2 nightmares for his former employers. It's his 800th league match as a manager. His first was Sheffield United against Swindon. Player manager, Division 1, the old championship in August 1998. 92 of those previous 799 were as manager of Villa, and it was 13 months ago, before his final game here, that an irate Villa fan threw a cabbage at him on the sideline. He said it was an unsavoury part of his career, but he's back here with Newcastle, having won consecutive games against an Aston Villa side that need a win. They've lost 3 in a row. Both the teams are out on the field. The handshakes are taking place. In the tunnel, there was a nice little moment. There was the mascot alongside Jack Grealish. The mascot staring at him wide-eyed, and he's got exactly the same haircut. He's like a mini Jack Grealish out there, staring at his hero, and Grealish breaks the huddle and sprints away towards the Holt end to take the applause with the number 10 on his back. He's missed 2 games with a calf problem, but he is restored to the side today. So Aston Villa start 1 point above the relegation zone. 3 straight defeats, as I mentioned, albeit 2 of them came against Manchester City and against Liverpool. They make 2 changes. Goalkeeper Tom Heaton, he's recovered from injury and replaces Jed Steer, who himself only lasted 8 minutes against Wolves last time out. Douglas Luiz, who's just made his debut for Brazil, is in central midfield for marvellous Nakamba. So they line up like this, and we'll have to wait and see exactly where Jack Grealish lines up, but it looks like it's further up the field. Tom Heaton in goal. Right to left, it's in the back 4, it's Gilbert, Concert, Mings and Target. The midfield 3, John McGinn, Douglas Luiz and Conor Hourihane, and the front 3, in whatever order, we'll have to wait and see, El Ghazi, Grealish and Wesley. So what about Newcastle United? 1 enforced change. Jamal Lascelles, the captain, fractured his tibia against Bournemouth last time out. He'll be out until the new year, so Paul Dummett is in for him as Steve Bruce walks along the touchline and appears to be getting a reasonable reception from the home fans. No great animosity, it seems, as he takes a swig from a water bottle, having shaken hands with his successor Dean Smith. So Newcastle, Martin Dubravka in goal, a back 3, Federico Fernandez, Kieran Clark and Paul Dummett. And by the way, of their 11 Premier League goals this season, defenders are responsible for 7 of them. DeAndre Yedlin is the right wing back, Jethro Willems on the left, Isaac Hayden, John Joe Shelby, who is captain in the absence of Jamal Lascelles, and the front 3, as we've mentioned, have only scored 1 goal between them, but they are exciting. Miguel Almiron, Joe Linton and Alan Saint-Maximin make up their starting 11. Chris Sutton alongside me. Great atmosphere, as you would expect here at Villa Park. And as you were arguing earlier, a bigger night, do you think, for the home side than for Newcastle United?
I think so. You know, off the back of 3 losses, albeit Manchester City away from home. They performed well against Liverpool. Unlucky at home to lose that one by the odd goal. Wolves, disappointing performance in the first half. All too little too late, lost that one. This is a game Villa fans will want to see a response from their team, but we know Newcastle are in decent form.
Newcastle with their traditional black and white striped shirts with black shorts and black socks. They'll be kicking towards the Holt end in the first half. Lee Mason gets us underway. The ball is fired back to Fernandez, who sends it upfield into the Aston Villa half. Of course, claret and blue shirts for them, white shorts and light blue socks, kicking towards the north stand here at Villa Park. An early cross goes into the penalty area from the Newcastle left-hand side, gathered easily by Tom Heaton, who rolls the ball out of defence. And here is a first touch for Douglas Luiz and a first touch for Jack Grealish, missing for 2 games. He was in superb form when he got that kick on the calf against Manchester City. And Dean Smith, the last time they were here, of course, that late defeat to Liverpool, he said just in the closing stages he would have got the hold of the ball, he'd have drawn some fouls, he'd have kept hold of possession, and perhaps that game might have ended differently against Liverpool, but they didn't have him and they lost 2-1.
He's their main man, their creator, their inspiration. I think, you know, years ago he was looked at as a bit of a flash in the pan, did things fleetingly, not consistent enough. I think he's really matured as an all-round footballer now, does both parts of the game extremely well. and I think he's pushing for an England place. I really do.
Dean Smith says it won't be long before he's called up. Tyrone Mings earned his second cap against Kosovo during the last international break, and he strokes the ball to his fellow centre-back Ezri Konsa, who's in for Engels, who's still out injured. Here comes Mings again, left-hand side, just inside the Newcastle half of play, to Matt Targett, who has recovered from a concussion that meant that he was substituted in first half stoppage time at Wolves in that 2-1 defeat last time out. Wesley drops deep. He's just played for Brazil as well. There's an interchangeable nature to the way that Aston Villa are attacking. Briefly there, Jack Grealish was the furthest man forward. John McGinn is in the penalty area as well, but Aston Villa lose possession down their right-hand side, and it's thumped clear by Paul Dummett, who's restored to that Newcastle back three. Here's Sam Maximan, who's a very exciting player with his blonde hair and his bright yellow boots. Back it goes to Dubravka. He was a yard or so out from his goal line under pressure from Wesley, but then struck the ball to his right-hand side to Federico Fernandez. Matt Targett with a good challenge, left-hand side. Here's Grealish, left side of the penalty area. Tackled well by Fernandez, still with Aston Villa on the edge. Wesley to Luiz, he can hit them from here. Then he takes a deflection and spins away for the game's first corner.
There's a really good bit of high pressing from Aston Villa. Targett winning the ball 20 yards outside the Newcastle box, feeding it to Grealish, who has started high on the left hand side for Villa. Ball laid across the box, and Luiz, his shot taking a deflection.
Conor Horahan will take the corner with his left foot, an in swinger, sends it in towards the near post area. It's a free header for Dummett to get it clear, but it falls to Luiz, and he strokes a casual but effective ball to Grealish down the right-hand side. Horahan again. There goes the cross, and it's a good header defensively by Fernandez at full stretch before it could arrive at Wesley's head just behind him. And now away go Newcastle down their right-hand side. Joe Linton, inside it goes to Almiron, still waiting for his first Premier League goal, and that's kind of what we're growing used to a little bit with Miguel Almiron. An exciting talent at times, unpredictable, but it was a left-footed shot that was well wide.
But that's the danger. A corner set piece for Aston Villa. Newcastle break so quickly. It was 3-on-2 at one stage. The ball fed into Almiron 25 yards out, but that was a mind the windows job, that wild effort.
22 Premier League appearances, no goals and no assists. He joined from Atlanta United for £21 million last January, so he is due. The last goal he scored was in MLS against NYCFC in December of last year. Tom Heaton in all yellow, right-footed clearance into the Newcastle half. That's off a Newcastle defender, last Paul Dummett, and Aston Villa have a throw just short of the halfway mark inside the Newcastle half of play. Into the 5th minute here on 5 Live Sport. Villa Park packed to the rafters. Aston Villa 0, Newcastle United 0. Villa with a throw, now about 10 yards from the edge of the Newcastle penalty area, right-hand side. Horahan, and plays it back to John McGinn. McGinn in a tight area, chips it back towards the halfway line, and Tyrone Mings, but that's a poor touch by him, and Almiron takes over. And was he fouled by Matt Targett? He rather ran into the back of Targett, and Lee Mason says there's no foul there, and it's a throw in to Aston Villa on their left hand side. But now is there a foul throw in there, Chris? Tyrone Mings has got his palms raised to the heavens, and Lee Mason says it's actually a throw on the Newcastle right.
It's a very strange passage of play. I thought Almiron was impeded. Grealish and Targett having words with the assistant. Sloppy pass, wasn't it, from Tyrone Mings? That's a big night for him as well. When you think about the situation with England at centre back, it looks like Maguire and one other, and Mings in contention, really in contention.
Ball is played back to Dubravka in all green, with number 1 on his back. That's a lovely ball out to Sam Maximin on the left-hand side. His long ball forward is headed clear confidently by Konsa, and here come Aston Villa towards the halfway line with the excellent John McGinn, who Steve Bruce says is his best ever signing when he was Aston Villa manager. Cost just, what was it, £2.5 million from Hibernian, an absolute steal. Lovely crossfield ball. Here come Aston Villa down the right-hand side, and it's a sliding challenge by Dummett to concede the throw. Inside level with the edge of the Newcastle penalty area. It's in front of the travelling Newcastle fans on the Aston Villa right. Frederic Gilbert will take it, and he takes a few steps back and he dries his hands on his shirt. Yellow ball above his head, thought he might go long, but he goes short to Horahan. Then he gets the ball back and lofts it towards the back post. It's an untidy cross. DeAndre Yedlin, the US international, deals with it well, but then sends it down the right hand side straight to Matt Targett, who can't find Jack Grealish. That's a little frustrating for Aston Villa, and it's a Newcastle throw on the right.
Yeah, sloppy Target, off target with that pass, simple pass as it was. A 10-yarder into Grealish, but it went out of play. Villa started as we expected on the front foot.
Mings' header falls to the feet of Isaac Hayden, who is back in the side after his suspension for a red card at Leicester recently. Douglas Luiz has the ball on the halfway line. Bad news for Aston Villa. Jack Grealish has just gone down short of Dean Smith, only about 5 yards away from him on the Villa left, and he's clutching what looks like he's just below his right knee. DeAndre Yedlin, no, it's not DeAndre Yedlin, it's Joe Linton who's across just to pat him on the chest and see how he is after the challenge a few moments ago. And I just wonder whether he might have taken another blow on the calf injury that he had before this game, Chris. It looked like a bit of a nasty challenge, didn't it?
Yeah, well, Joe Linton with his back to goal takes a heavy touch. The ball gets away from him a yard or two, and he tries to get his body in, and he challenges Grealish, and he catches him halfway up his shin. He's not moving very well, which would be a worry for Aston Villa.
It looks like he's going to be okay. He's off the field now, having received treatment in order to come back on again. In a way, he doesn't help himself with the socks at half-mast on both legs. But he's the most fouled player in the Premier League, 41 times before tonight. So on average, he's fouled every 22 minutes. So it's not surprising he takes his share of knocks. 8 minutes gone here at Villa Park on 5 Live Sport. If you're just joining us, Arlo White and Chris Sutton here. Aston Villa 0, Newcastle United 0. And no great chances so far to speak of. And Aston Villa have possession through Konsa, and Jack Grealish is back on the field, tight to the left touchline, just beyond target. Here is Grealish, seems to be moving okay, cuts in onto his right foot. Almiron is the defender, he chips it forward, but it's intercepted by Fernandes. Then Jack Grealish gets it back, tries to thread it through towards Wesley inside the penalty area. They feel that Grealish was fouled just on the edge of the penalty area as he played that ball through towards Wesley. The attack broke down, and Newcastle have possession through Hayden, right hand side, just inside the Villa half. That's good harassing play by Wesley, very energetic centre forward who does put his fair share of defensive work in. The mistake has been forced by Targett on Almiron, and Aston Villa have a throw on their left, just halfway inside their own half.
I think Almiron just short of confidence, isn't he? Indecisive in that situation. Needs to start stepping up to the plate.
John Joe Shelvey wins a header above Wesley. Shelvey is the captain of Newcastle United in the absence of Jamal Lascelles. It's a big miss for them, Lascelles. He was appointed captain at the age of 22. One of the leaders in the dressing room. Ball breaks kindly for John McGinn. It's an excellent challenge by Hayden to get the ball back for Newcastle. Here's Sam Maximin into the penalty area, left-hand side. The cross is deflected and goes behind for the corner kick. And the roar you can hear is from the travelling Toon Army in the shadows here, the corner of the Holt end, away to our right-hand side.
Yeah, and in contrast, Almiron, St. Maximum off that left-hand side. Player full of confidence, drives to the byline. It's a good block. A chance, first chance for Newcastle in the corner to put Aston Villa under pressure.
Corner to be taken by John Joe Shelvey, right-footed, curled in towards the near post, and it's repelled well by Aston Villa, who can break away now through Jack Grealish, but is somewhat alone over on that right-hand side, but does well, draws the challenge and wins his side a throw-in 15-20 yards inside the Newcastle half on the right-hand side. The throw-in taken quickly by Grealish is Douglas Luiz, the holding midfielder, in for Marvellous Nakamba, who'd started the last 8 games. Poor ball out to the left-hand side, gets away with it. Al Ghazi drops it back to Matt Targett. Square ball to Ezra Konsa. And to the right it goes to Grealish, who appears to have something of a free role at the moment. He's certainly switched with El Ghazi, who's now over on the left-hand side. But he's roaming to find possession here, Jack Grealish. Yellow boots, ball at his feet, so Maximum in front of him. and he rolls it square to Tyrone Mings, the tall, muscular figure. Nice football by Aston Villa. Horahan plays it out to the left-hand side to Target. Back it goes to the halfway line, and Mings, Dean Smith with his hands folded on the corner of his technical area, black shoes shining under the floodlights, blue puffer jacket with the hood down, just waving at Matt Target, his left back, as to where he wants him positioned, and Target is available on the left-hand side for Mings, who ignores him, goes into Wesley, who drops deep to play the ball back to Luis. Luis gives the ball away though, but he will have will win his side a throw-in on the left-hand side. A poor bit of play by Willems, a missed kick that goes out of play. Gilbert with the throw, finds McGinn running across field, Target's in some space. It's a lovely dummy by Grealish. Here is Matt Target, left corner of the penalty area, super ball in, and they can't convert it. A couple of yards out, El Ghazi, 5 yards out, was the closest to it. That's the best piece of football we've seen so far tonight.
Well, a shake of the head from El Ghazi. Why didn't he just stretch his leg out here? It's a brilliant ball in, tantalising from the edge, the corner of the box on the left-hand side for Villa, across the 6-yard line. And El Ghazi, he doesn't stretch. Wonderful ball in. There was a chance.
He's won his place at left back, Matt Target, from Neil Taylor, the former Swansea man. And here comes El Ghazi down the right-hand side for Aston Villa. Chance of a cross into the penalty area. It's deflected, it falls to Luis. Shoots the crowd, I think, who remember his goal against Bournemouth in the early stages of the season. Newcastle at the moment can't get out of their own half. That pass intercepted by Tyrone Mings. Grealish now on the left-hand side with John Joe Shelby screening him. Luis again, 15-20 yards outside the Newcastle United penalty area. He gets it back from Gilbert. And it's patient build-up again by Aston Villa, who at the moment are dominating possession. 13 minutes gone, Villa 0, Newcastle United 0. Tyrone Mings again, and he's rather overhit the side-footed pass out to Horahan on this left-hand side for Aston Villa, and it's a Newcastle throw.
I think they're looking for quick switches of play. Villa get the ball in wide areas, little 2v1s down the side, get the full-backs high and on. But Newcastle just sitting in, 5 across the back, and they're looking to use that pace of Almiron and St Maximin to maximum effect when they're breaking out.
Here's Mings again. Now Target, left-hand side just inside his own half of the field, and Mings strokes it to his fellow centre-back. Aston Villa won just one of their opening 7 Premier League games of the season. They then won consecutive games at Norwich and here against Brighton, so they're out of the bottom 3 but only by a point. Here's Horahan, number 14 on his back. Back to goal is Jack Grealish in possession. And it was a good looking ball, an adventurous ball, and it's a poor header cleared by Willems again. The cross comes in, there's an appeal for handball in there from the Aston Villa fans. Lee Mason unmoved. Aston Villa have a throw in on their right hand side, just level, almost level with the edge of the penalty area. Here's Douglas Luis again. Joel Linton is forced back to defend him. Newcastle just can't get hold of the ball at the moment. Tyrone Mings into the feet of Wesley. Wesley drops it back to Jack Grealish. Onto his right foot, he chips it out to the right flank. Here's Gilbert, the right back. He drills across straight into Jethro Willems, and the ball bounces away in front of the Toonami for a throw-in, and the home fans are encouraged as the momentum builds towards Dubravka's goal.
Yeah, there's that quick switch. El Ghazi and the full-back inside.
Gilbert with a longer throw this time. The heads go up, Dummett wins the header. It falls to Luis, who's winning his fair share of possession in that midfield. A deep across this time towards Grealish. It's an excellent header cleared by DeAndre Yedlin before Villa's number 10 could get his head to the ball. McGinn, a measured ball out to the left-hand side to Horahan. Good run being made into the penalty area by Target, but back he goes to McGinn on his right foot. The chip towards the back post when I thought he was going to wind up for a shot. He was looking for the run of Wesley, overhit it, and it's a goal kick to Newcastle.
I think the truth there is, had that been on John McGinn's left foot, he would have had a shot. Lovely little shift inside. Almiron, 25 yards out. And 2 straight, trying to feed a little ball in behind the Newcastle back line, but off target.
Dubravka took the goal kick short to Federico Fernandez. He got it back, and now here's DeAndre Yedlin. to Fernandes, given away, poor from Newcastle. He was looking for Almiron down the Newcastle right. Luis overhits the ball, or the pass I should say, towards El Ghazi, and Dubravka immediately throws the ball out to Willems, his left wing back, just approaching the halfway line, left-hand side for Newcastle. Now the skills of St Maximin. He is electrifying when he gets hold of the ball. Newcastle fans love him, and they love him even more after he provided some fruity language on a call-in show on BBC Radio Newcastle last week that went viral. I think he apologised later, but it seems to have endeared him even more to Newcastle fans. I think a couple of goals might do the trick.
Be more suitable.
Joe Linton's goal against Tottenham Hotspur in that 1-0 win earlier in the season is the only goal from a forward this season. Luis to the edge of the area, Jack Grealish back on his right foot, just stabs the pass towards Wesley under pressure on the edge of the area from John Joe Shelby. Grealish gets it back again. He's pulling the strings for Aston Villa in and around the penalty area. Here's Horahan, back to Grealish, closed down again by John Joe Shelby. He's got a busy night ahead of him, has Shelby. McGinn, corner of the penalty area, left-hand side to Target. The pull back towards Luis. He got the shot away. It's off a Newcastle defender, last Isaac Hayden, and it's another corner for Aston Villa, this time on their left-hand side.
Yeah, patience from Villa. Nice incisive pass from McGinn into the wide area. Scrambled from Newcastle. Villa with all the pressure, and they make it count.
John McGinn at the moment is unmarked at the near post. He's been spotted by Isaac Hayden. Jack Grealish with both arms raised. He's got Horahan 10 yards away from him, but it looks like he's going to cross the ball from this corner kick in. It goes towards the back post. It's a powerful header clear by Joel Linton, and St Maximin now has a chance on the counter-attack into the Aston Villa half. Running here at the Villa defence, Gilbert. Here's Almiron, and he loses control of the ball straight away just inside the penalty area, and that all rather sums it up once again. It was an electrifying counter-attack. St Maximin did the hard work. A square ball to Almiron, and he just couldn't sort his feet out and bring the ball under control. Meanwhile, at the other end, Wesley, left side of the penalty area, brings Fernandes across to mark him. Wesley on his right foot. There's the cut back to the edge of the penalty area to Horahan. Wesley again, what are his options here? He raises his palms to the heavens. Back he goes to Luis, and now it's Matt Target. He's got some room to get across in, under no pressure at all, but it's a poor one, and Fernandes able to get it clear, only as far as Luis, who's told by the Villa Park faithful to shoot again, 40 yards out, decides against it, finds Grealish on the left-hand side, lovely ball down the line towards Target, cross comes in, Fernandes concedes a throw-in right by the corner flag. Lovely build-up play by Aston Villa.
And that's what Grealish brings to this Aston Villa team, that ability to see a pass, slide a pass. Target keeps it in play on the byline, crossed in, defended well from Newcastle. The worry would be for Villa, they've had 2 corners, and that's when Newcastle have been at their most dangerous on the break. Almiron wasteful once again.
19 minutes gone at Villa Park on this Monday night. Aston Villa 0, Newcastle United 0. Matt Target takes the throw to Horahan on this left-hand side. It's a pass from Grealish to Horahan. That's a lovely centre, curling to the edge of the 6-yard box, headed clear by Fernandes. A square header by Luis into the penalty area, and the challenge comes in from Jetro Willems. There's no penalty. Then McGinn in turn fouls Willems just on the edge of the penalty area. Lee Mason says that is a free kick, and on the left-hand side, Matt Target's going to need some attention after a challenge a few moments ago.
Yeah, Target down, holding his shoulder or his neck, I think, but Aston Villa fans, they wanted a penalty, not enough in that for me. Again, using his strength. I thought that was slightly harsh for him to be penalised inside the box, but Dean Smith will be happy with the start from Villa, but nothing really clear cut.
I think Matt Target, like you say, Chris, has taken a little blow to the neck. He's coughing at the moment. He's just having a drink off the field. So temporarily, Villa are down to 10 men, and they're attacking here Newcastle into his space. Here's Almiron, found by DeAndre Yedlin. Horahan has dropped into that left-back position as Matt Target jogs back towards the halfway line to come back into the game. And Newcastle have a throw on their right, and Matt Target's going to be able to come back in. It was interesting at the stoppage of play, 3 Aston Villa players sprinted immediately over to the technical area to get some instructions from Dean Smith and to take a drink just when they had that 30 seconds or so break. The cross comes into the Aston Villa penalty area. It's a dangerous one. It's cleared up towards about 10 yards outside their penalty area. Luis gets a volleyed clearance in. Wesley chasing but can't get there ahead of Dummett. The ball falls here to John Joe Shelby. We haven't seen much of him in possession so far in the centre of the park for Newcastle United. Maybe he'll grow into the game, and here he is in possession on the halfway line again, and that's a good looking ball, an ambitious ball out to the right, headed clear by Targett, who's back on the field. He was trying to find Yedlin, and here's Grealish again, shoved to the ground by Almiron, 10 yards inside the Newcastle half, and it's an Aston Villa free kick, and he's ahead of his quota of being fouled tonight, Jack Grealish.
Well, he certainly is. He just hits inside Almiron and draws the foul. He knows he doesn't have the legs and the pace, but he has the guile. Grealish out on this left-hand side for Villa.
Here's Gilbert, the Aston Villa right back. Ezri Konsa, who made his Premier League debut at Wolves with the injury to Bjorn Engels. He cost 12 million from Brentford. Konsa, 21 years of age, alongside Tyrone Mings at the heart of that Aston Villa defence. We looked to the manor born last weekend. Gilbert has the throw in halfway inside the Newcastle half of play on the Aston Villa right hand side. Inside it goes to McGinn with the yellow boots. He's ushered back by John Joe Shelby, back to Konsa, who looks very comfortable in possession. Ezri Konsa. Tyrone Mings, here's Horahan. Matt Targett on the left hand side, who makes a run inside of Wesley, who shows his strength to see off the challenge of Federico Fernandez. Rolls it back to Douglas Luiz under pressure from Joel Linton, and back it goes to Tyrone Mings. And it's a confident display by Aston Villa so far, who are imposing their own style on Newcastle here. Newcastle, the team with the lowest average percentage possession in each game, just 33%. Here's Horahan going towards the left corner of the penalty area, runs into Federico Fernandez. That's a lovely ball by Fernandez, out to the right hand side to Joel Linton, who's having a run here at Tyrone Mings towards the penalty area. Mings being tested, Joel Linton onto his left foot, and that's an excellent challenge by Douglas Luiz. That's what you want from your holding defensive midfielder, to track back and get the challenge in to help his centre back out.
He did his job very well. Villa now on the attack with McGinn.
Square ball to his left hand side to Matt Targett. Now Conor Horahan pressured by DeAndre Yedlin. He finds Jack Grealish again, and here's Luis. Out it goes to the right hand side for Aston Villa to Gilbert, who's got El Ghazi down the right hand side. There's a line of 4 Aston Villa attackers on the edge of the penalty area. Targett is supporting the attack as well. Jack Grealish back to goal, pressured by Federico Fernandez, rolls it back to Tyrone Mings. Grealish gets it this time from Horahan. He's facing goal this time, runs up towards John Joe Shelby. The ball breaks here to Luis, cross towards the back post, just inside the penalty area. Horahan was there, but DeAndre Yedlin got the header clear and finds the Paraguayan Miguel Almiron, and there's a no-nonsense clearance from Federico Fernandez, who's the right-hand side of that back three, with Kieran Clark in the centre, the Jamal Lascelles role, and Paul Dummett on the left-hand side. But at the moment, Chris, it's a back 5.
Yeah, it is. The issue Newcastle have is Joe Linton. We talked about him breaking out last time. He was so isolated and had to go alone when Luiz got back. And again, there one long ball up to him, and not a Newcastle player in touching distance.
24 minutes on the clock, 0-0. Villa have had 70% of the possession. Dubravka's out to smother that flick on by McGinn before Wesley could cause a nuisance for himself. Dubravka bounces the ball a couple of times and rolls it out to the edge of the penalty area, and John Joe Shelby, and he's going to send it long into the Aston Villa half. Tyrone Mings battling with Joel Linton.
And there's an example why Almiron and St Maximum have to work harder. If they're going to hit long balls into Joelinton, they have to get in and around for the knockdown.
Dean Smith has sent a couple of substitutes, including Marvellous Nakamba, out to warm up. They're just pulling on the green bibs in front of us now. Nakamba's got the light blue boots on, clapped by the season ticket holders right in front of us here at Villa Park. Here's Tyrone Mings just inside the Newcastle half, rolls it to the left-hand touchline to Matt Targett, and back it goes to Mings again. Newcastle 14th in the Premier League. They're 5 points off the bottom 3, but only 4 points off 5th place. They're 6 points better off than at the same stage last season. They've gathered 15 points from the last 12 games. Some really good form. Here's Almiron, found by Shelby just short of the halfway line in the centre circle, and that is going to be a free kick to Newcastle United. The foul by Konsa, who pleads his innocence. The foul on Joel Linton, and Konsa isn't going to talk Lee Mason around. Free kick to Newcastle, which is taken quickly to Hayden. And Hayden to this right-hand side to Fernandez, and now Kieran Clark, who scored in the last two games, those two victories against West Ham and Bournemouth for Newcastle United. 26 minutes gone, 0-0 Villa Park here on 5 Live Sport. Here's St Maximum on the left-hand side. Willems ahead of him has gone down injured, not injured, he went down in a off-the-ball tussle, then St Maximum tussling with Gilbert. Well, it looked like Gilbert pulls St Maximum down. Lee Mason has seen it exactly the opposite way and given Newcastle the free kick on the left side of the penalty area.
Well, wide on the Newcastle left. So coming together, I don't think there's a lot in that. I think Gilbert is entitled to hold his ground. St Maximum drives past him initially, stands on the ball, and then that's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. I don't understand. I think the referee has guessed.
Well, it's provided an opportunity here for a good service from John Joe Shelvey, just on that left side of the penalty area, and he whips it in towards the back post. He was looking for a Moutinho-esque curler into the top corner, but it's easy for Tom Heaton, and that's a waste of a set piece.
Yes, but he didn't gather it at the first attempt, Heaton. He would have had that initial moment of panic.
Jack Grealish up inside the Newcastle half finds McGinn, who invites Luis into the game. Now here's Matt Targett, forced back by Almiron to Tyrone Mings. They don't mind recycling it, starting again. If the move isn't on down either flank, they'll recycle possession to the other side of the field. There's a confidence about them. Aston Villa, they know their game plan. Here's Mings again, and Horahan just inside the Newcastle half, tracked by Isaac Hayden, but he finds Ezra Konsa, who marches forward into that Newcastle half. Back it goes to Douglas Luiz. A square ball this time to Horahan. They're going to probe down the left-hand side now, the villains. Here's Targett, corner of the penalty area, in towards Wesley, back to goal. Good first touch, tries to get a shot away. He's got his back to goal still. He rolls it back to Grealish, and now Luiz. One touch, right-footed shot, it wasn't far over. I think it's taken a tip by Dubravka, and that might have saved the goal. It's a corner kick. What a laser-like effort from Douglas Luiz.
Yes, really good centre-forward play. And he pokes the ball into Grealish. Wesley doesn't. He feeds the ball to Luiz. Was he 22 yards out? Tries to bend it into the near top corner, and that's the right fingertip of Dubravka.
It's a brilliant save. Corner taken short to Grealish, then whipped in left-footed into the near post. It's Shelvey, gets it half clear. The ball bounces into the penalty area. The flag stays down. The heads go up. It's off Wesley last. He's desperately trying to keep the ball in play and prevent the goal kick. And I think Lee Mason, instead of giving the free kick, has just said, look, I'll have a little word with you here, but it's going to be a goal kick to Newcastle United. And Dubravka has the ball under his right elbow, and that really was a magnificent save. A little set two between Wesley and Federico Fernandez. I don't think that's going to linger any longer. 0-0, 29 minutes gone here at Villa Park, and here is Chris Sutton.
Yeah, it was a terrific save by Dubravka. Dean Smith, he probably hasn't been worked enough. Newcastle goalkeeper.
Well, Matt Targett did rather jump into the back of Joel Linton there in an aerial challenge. He wasn't looking at the ball, no free kick. And McGinn sends it forward towards Grealish, who is pushed on the edge of the penalty area. It's no penalty, says Lee Mason, and he's pointing to a spot right on the edge. Just the left-hand side of the penalty area. He's just put the spray down, which can't be any more than 3 or 4 inches outside.
We're getting the stand in front of us calling for VAR. The initial push certainly was outside the area. Brainless from Yedlin. This is a really good opportunity for Villa. It's a clever run from Grealish. He's onside, just drifts in between wing back and centre half.
He just stopped his run there, Chris, didn't he? And
he did.
Yedlin, who was at full pelt, barged into the back of him. Now, if it was a pull or a tug that went into the penalty area, that could still have been a penalty kick. As it was a very quick shove, and it's about 3 inches outside the penalty area to the left, as we look at it, of Dubravka's goal. Now, Grealish is over it, Luiz is over it, El Ghazi's there, so is Targett. It's free kick by committee at the moment. Grealish just puts his hand around the neck of Horahan as they discuss what's going to happen here. There's a 4-man Newcastle wall There are a couple of Aston Villa attackers in Konsa and Mings forming that screen that you're allowed to do these days. El Ghazi is available on the edge of the penalty area at the moment, but now he walks in towards it. It's taken, the touch is made and the free kick is curled in, and it's a brilliantly worked goal, and Conor Hourihane with his left foot inside the near post. Dubravka barely moved. Aston Villa deservedly in front, 31 minutes on the clock. It's the Irishman Hourihane with it, and it's Aston Villa 1, Newcastle United 0.
Well, I tell you what, this is superbly worked from Aston Villa. Conor Hourihane just pokes the ball a yard to Jack Grealish. That creates the angle, and he whips it around the wall and beats Dubravka at his near post. Wonderfully worked, measured from Hourihane, and Villa, they certainly deserve the lead. They've been the side on the front foot, pushing Newcastle back, and they've got their reward.
Are there questions to be asked about the positioning of the wall there, Chris?
Well, absolutely. You think, if that happens, the wall, they should adapt. The man on the end of the wall should try and move. I mean, it's not rocket science, is it? They're trying to work the angle. These are professional players.
It's his second Premier League goal of the season, Conor Hourihane. He scored in that magnificent 5-1 away win, sorry to mention this one, Chris, at Norwich City in October.
Yeah, they got lucky.
All 5 times?
It could have been more. 5-1 flat at Norwich. But I tell you what, they deserve it tonight so far, and now Newcastle, they have a problem, because they came here and they've parked the bus so far. The goal down, they have to show more intent than they have done.
Well, that should bring them out going a goal down. We are inside the final 12 minutes of this first half, and Villa have been very impressive indeed after that run of 3 straight defeats. It hasn't harmed their confidence. In his programme notes, Dean Smith says, look, we've lost 3 straight just because 2 of those were against Manchester City and Liverpool. They are still defeats. Crossing towards the penalty area, there was a little bit of confusion between Kieran Clark and the advancing Dubravka, but Dubravka's call in the end meant that Clark ducks out of the way and the goalkeeper gathers cleanly. Now he's just trying to find a target, and there's not a lot of movement ahead of him, and he sends it into the Villa half. There's a little shove there by Konsa into the back of Joel Linton. Lee Mason sees it and says play on. Gilbert with a terrific challenge on St Maximin, and it's an Aston Villa throw out on their right hand side, right on the halfway line. Villa 1, Newcastle 0 here on 5 Live Sport.
Newcastle's game plan when they are in possession is get the ball to St Maximin, and he needs to make something happen. They need to offer more than that. And long balls have gone into Joe Linton, but he has been so isolated.
Super noise inside Villa Park as Steve Bruce in his black puffer jacket takes another deep swig of a green bottle out in front of us. Sacked here 13 months ago. 92 of his 799 managerial appearances came for Aston Villa. Jack Grealish is fouled on the left side of the penalty area by Fernandes, who will go in the book. The yellow card brandished by Lee Mason, and here's another opportunity after another foul on Jack Grealish for Aston Villa.
Yeah, he just overruns the ball, Grealish, takes a heavy touch, and that draws Fernandes in. I do think he makes a little bit of a meal of that. It was a free kick, slightly theatrical, and another chance for Aston Villa.
And again, it's just outside the area, a little further this time, maybe a foot outside on the left-hand side of the area, 17 yards out. So this time Dubravka is on his near post. Newcastle United defending in a line about maybe 9 yards from goal. Hourihane has it. Jack Grealish comes across. That near post is available again. Let's see what he does this time, Hourihane. Maybe he'll go to the back post this time. That's a lovely ball to the back post, and it's 2-0. The flag stays down. It's another brilliant set piece. El Ghazi with it, and Aston Villa are running riot here at Villa Park on a Monday night. Set pieces doing the trick for the Villains. 35 minutes gone. Aston Villa 2, Newcastle United 0.
Well, what a ball this is. Bang on the money from Hourihane. I don't think any blame can be attached to the goalkeeper. It's whipped in 4 yards out. You have to say the Newcastle defending is shambolic. And it's El Ghazi, he can't miss from there. Just has to get the connection. He does do. It's a great ball. I think he runs off the back of Dummett. But hopeless defending from Newcastle. They're all looking around at each other, blaming each other. Somebody in that back line has to take responsibility.
If El Ghazi hadn't put that ball in, Tyrone Mings was completely unmarked just behind him. Take your pick, it was El Ghazi who got there first, and that's his third Premier League goal of the season. And Aston Villa are firmly in command here on Monday night at Villa Park. 2-0 they lead. We're in the 37th minute, and El Ghazi adds to Horahan's opener. 2 quick-fire goals, 2 set pieces, 1 direct. Well, it wasn't direct, was it? It was a little touch to Grealish and then back to Horahan. But that was a lovely, teasing, curling ball to the back post in the corridor of uncertainty. And El Ghazi stuck it into the roof of the net for 2-0. A hill to climb now for Newcastle United. Here's Saint-Maximin on the left-hand side, cuts in field, plays a square ball. It's a good one to DeAndre Yedlin. Back defending his target, also Jack Grealish, who's working hard. Here's Federico Fernandez, and it's chipped forward by Isaac Hayden and thumped out of play into the Trinity Road stand by Matt Targett. Throwing on the right-hand side to Newcastle United, some 15 yards away from the corner flag.
And finally, Newcastle in the Villa half with a little bit of possession. 38 minutes in, that's not been good enough. 2 goals in, and they look like they've woken up.
Long cross towards the back post. Gilbert deals with it just about, but then Saint-Maximin takes the ball off him. Aston Villa's possession is up to 74%. Saint-Maximin into the penalty area. The shot was deflected. It was a diving Concert who sent it up into the air, and Aston Villa able to clear, but Saint-Maximin looks a very dangerous player in that left-hand side for Newcastle. Long diagonal ball into the penalty area, straight to Tom Heaton, and he rolls it out to Jack Grealish, who surges down the left-hand side, right in front of him, of us in our commentary position here, and he rolls it back to Matt Targett. And again, Aston Villa, who, as I've just mentioned, have gone up to 74% possession, are happy to circulate the ball around the back four as they probe for openings here, leading by 2-0.
Yeah, now the pressure's off in many respects for Villa. They can draw Newcastle out onto them. No rush, 2 goals up. It's about composure now, using the ball well, moving it quickly.
There's Concert, and he finds Douglas Luiz. He's in the centre circle. Confident pass out to the left-hand side of Matt Targett. Targett back inside to Luiz, who forced that wonderful save from Dubravka at 0-0. An extravagant no-look, albeit fairly simple pass back to Luiz by Jack Grealish, who just has an air of confidence, almost cockiness about him, doesn't he, Jack Grealish?
Yeah, he absolutely does, and he's the key man, isn't he, for Villa, the leader, the one the Villa players look up to for something to happen, and he's made things happen this evening.
Here he is again in possession, a player, Jack Grealish, who Dean Smith says he and John Terry, his assistant, often at training, just look at each other and say wow at what Grealish is capable of. McGinn to the left-hand side to Horahan, side of the penalty area, another good low cross. This time it's Fernandez who gets it clear, well, concedes the corner, and they're under more pressure here, Newcastle United, in the 40th minute, and it's another corner kick for Aston Villa to be taken by Conor Horahan, the scorer of the first goal.
Yeah, again, they work the ball really well. Quick passing from Villa. Had Horahan the chance to whip the ball in.
Jack Grealish over this corner kick. He places the ball down just outside of the quadrant. 2 arms raised again. Right-footed. Plenty of air under this one towards the back post. It was Willems with the flicked header clear. That might go out for another corner unless it can be kept in, and it is by Saint-Maximin. Now he tries to go on a little wander down the left-hand side, deep in his own half, and Gilbert with the challenge leaves Saint-Maximin in a heap on the ground, but the upshot is a throw-in in front of the Toon Army for Newcastle United on their left-hand side. Willems to take it, a couple of yards outside the penalty area. And what are his options here? He's got the ball hovering above his head, and then he just sends it long down straight onto the head of Luiz, who nods it out of play. 40 minutes gone. Aston Villa 2, Newcastle United 0 here on 5 Live Sport if you're just joining us.
Yeah, and even as that throw-in was heading towards Joe Linton, who's in and around him to pick up the second ball. He does well on the second throw to win a free kick. Needless challenge, push in the back.
Well, they dearly like to halve the deficit before half-time, just to give themselves a foothold in the game here, Newcastle United. Here's Fernandez, the right centre-back, to Kieran Clark. Clark finds Shelvey. The high press was on from a combination of El Ghazi and Wesley. Good defending by Matt Targett. The Villa fans are certainly warming to him, the former Southampton man. He heads it out of play under pressure from DeAndre Yedlin. It's a throw-in to be taken by Federico Fernandez on the Newcastle right. Halfway inside the Villa half. Villa attacking the whole end in this first half. Aston Villa will have that pleasure, as they like to do in the second 45 minutes.
Well, Newcastle just haven't got going, have they? Shelvey. We've seen a couple of long passes, but Villa all over him in midfield, not allowing him to get his head up and dictate the play, something which he likes to do.
Once again, the throw-in takes a while, but it's Fernandez who gets the ball back. It drops here to Isaac Hayden. Back to Fernandez on the right flank, the right centre-back. Hayden going towards the byline. Douglas Luiz with the challenge. Who's that off last? It's a corner kick, and Newcastle have an opportunity to send some decent service into that Aston Villa penalty area as the clock ticks down in the 43rd minute at Villa Park, and John Joe Shelvey will take it right-footed, curling the ball away from Tom Heaton in that Villa goal. Doesn't appear to be in no hurry, is he?
No urgency, 2-0 down, blimey.
Both arms raised by Shelvey. That's a good-looking centre. The header is tipped over the bar by Tom Heaton, and it's behind for a corner kick. Was it Kieran Clark who got his head to it? Into the turf, it was rising, and Heaton managed to parry it away.
Well, it's a really good ball. I don't think Heaton can come for that. It's on the 6-yard line, an outswinger, and Mings gets his jump all wrong and is powered into the floor. I think it's Fernandez. Heaton parries it over.
It was Federico Fernandez, the fellow centre-back. The next corner comes in, it's a deep one again, but it breaks here to Jack Grealish on the edge of his own penalty area. They could be in here on the counter-attack here, Aston Villa. John McGinn with possession, but he's delayed the pass for too long. Through goes El Ghazi. He'll score the goal, but he's a good 2 or 3 yards offside. The pass was on a split second earlier, and McGinn just held on to it that little bit too long.
Do you know what? I don't blame John McGinn here. I think El Ghazi should be more patient with his run, bend his run. He does go early. The Newcastle defenders hold the line. It's a chance, opportunity missed there, nearing half-time.
I think Jetro Willems just stepped forward at the crucial moment as well, didn't he? The last Newcastle United defender, ensuring that the offside flag would be waved, but that was an opportunity to go in 3-0. That would have been dreamland for Dean Smith and his side. The flick forward by Joel Linton, the clearance by Conser, and it's a Newcastle throw on their right-hand side, and we are into the final minute of the first 45. Aston Villa 2, Newcastle United 0. Chris Sutton and Arlo White with you here on 5 Live Sport for a Monday evening. Fernandez, who had that terrific header a few moments ago with the throw-in, he'll have another opportunity into the feet of St Maximin, who's now on the right-hand side for Newcastle. And he's well defended by Matt Targett. Another throw-in taken by Fernandez, gets the ball back from Almiron. Here's St Maximin. The ball has just stayed in play. It's rolling across the line, but then Villa have it back through Jack Grealish, and the runners are marauding forward on the right-hand side. There are 3 of them. The ball to Gilbert. He's being tracked here by Willems. What are his options? He's got Wesley on the far side. McGinn slides it in towards El Ghazi. He's overhit the pass, and it's behind for a goal kick. They do have opportunities on the counter-attack, and perhaps they might rue the fact that they've not tested Dubravka on either of them.
Yeah, and in fairness, it was a poor pass from McGinn. Not a difficult pass. Goes to the outside of his left foot, 25 yards from goal, out on the right-hand side of the box. El Ghazi was onside. A shame for Villa, and the ball drifts out of play behind the Newcastle goal.
Well, the fourth official, who tonight is Tim Robinson, holds aloft the board, and it says 2 minutes of time added on at the end of this first half, which has been dominated by the home side Aston Villa. But there could be something in this late in the half for Newcastle United, but then Almiron and St Maximin make a bit of a mess of it down the right-hand side, and in the end the ball is ushered out of play for a Aston Villa goal kick.
Well, Almiron, he has been hopeless in this first half. He really has been. I think St Maximin aside, Newcastle have been at their bare minimum in this first half. Steve Bruce, you can imagine him really reading the riot act. Hasn't been good enough. Villa by far the better team.
Well, Almiron hasn't completely forgotten how to score goals. He's scored in the last 2 international breaks for Paraguay, but at the moment he can't buy a goal, can he, for Newcastle United? Steve Bruce says of him, he's a great lad, probably the most popular player here. He's bright, effervescent, bubbly. He scores goals in training, but it's different in front of 50,000 people. He needs to be calmer.
Well, there's a lot of people who are great lads. That doesn't make them good footballers.
Hooked forward by Douglas Luiz into that Newcastle half. The clearance by Dummett down the left-hand side. Gilbert wins the header, but it's out of play for a Newcastle throw. As we approach half-time here at Villa Park, Jetro Willems took a throw in. It looked like his back foot came up, but no foul throw awarded. His Kieran Clark gets the ball back from Isaac Hayden, rolls it out to the left-hand side. St Maximin has been restored to his normal position. He cuts in, but runs straight into Gilbert, who fouls him, but that's the final action of the first half. And Aston Villa fans all around us rise to their feet straight away to applaud their side. A terrific first half for the home side, and they'll go into the break as Steve Bruce marches in front of us. He's got some serious work to do at half-time, because Chris Sutton, his side trail by 2-0.
Yes, and they've been desperately poor in this first half. Newcastle offered very little going forward. Villa thoroughly deserved to be 2 goals up, if not more. Really clever free kick to take the lead. Second goal, the Newcastle defence switch off. It's a long way back for Newcastle, but credit Villa, came out of the traps, deserved their lead at half-time.
2 nicely crafted set pieces then marked by goals by Horahan, and then he provided the second for El Ghazi. Means half-time at Villa Park on this Monday night. Aston Villa 2, Newcastle United 0. There are none for Newcastle United. I think they'd be the side most likely to make one, and Chris less than enthused about Miguel Almiron's first half performance, but he's out there. Interestingly, Newcastle were first out there, all kind of standing around in their formation, while Aston Villa go through quite an energetic warm-up straight away, running around some cones on the floor just to get themselves buzzing and the blood flowing for the start of this second half. I can see John Terry striding out in his Aston Villa tracksuit. Quite a mild night tonight, actually. He hasn't got the coat on, John Terry, as he marches towards the bench, but we're about to get back underway. The side separated by Conor Horahan's lovely work free kick after 32 minutes, and then he delivered a gorgeous ball to the back post from another free kick, similar area for El Ghazi 4 minutes later, and that's how it stands at the moment, 2-0. So no changes. Aston Villa attacking the Holt end in this second half. I'll just quickly run through the starting 11. Tom Heaton in goal for them. Back four of Gilbert, Concert, Mings and Target. Midfield 3, McGinn, Luis and Horahan. Up front, El Ghazi, Grealish and Wesley. And for Newcastle United in goal, Dubravka. 3 at the back, Fernandez, Clark and Dummett. And you've got Yedlin and Willems, the wing-backs. Hayden and Shelvey in the centre of the park. Almiron, Joel Linton and St Maximin are the attackers. Chris Sutton, what are you looking for in this second 45 minutes? We'll wait there. So Maximin is away down the left-hand side towards the byline, in towards the penalty area. It's a poor cross to the near post, so Joel Linton was there, but it was easy for Tom Heaton.
Well, I think Steve Bruce certainly would have emphasised the need for a fast start in this second half. They couldn't be any worse. They can't play any worse than they performed in the first half. Dean Smith would talk about not being sloppy, and we've seen 2 occasions in this opening minute where Mings there with a heavy touch nearly allowed Joe Linton in, and Gilbert immediately from kick-off giving St Maximum an opportunity, but Heaton clasped the cross.
That's a super bit of hold-up centre-forward play by Wesley. Back to goal, who struck the ball to El Ghazi. There's a cross on the right-hand side from Gilbert that takes a deflection off Willems and falls kindly in the midfield for John Joe Shelvey. Right-footed pass to Joe Linton, and he's got St Maximin on the left-hand side. Here is St Maximin towards the penalty area, and his right foot. There's a curling effort, and it's palmed around low to his left-hand side by Tom Heaton. St Maximin's wait for his opening Newcastle goal goes on, but he's getting closer.
Yeah, and it's a decent response from Newcastle. It actually wasn't the best ball from Joe Linton. Switched across the pitch from right to left. The ball was behind St Maximin. who took the ball, 25 yards out right-footed. It's a really good save from Tom Heaton, low down to his left-hand side, getting it around the post.
Full stretch, Tom Heaton. Almost went under his left hand, but it didn't, crucially. Tyrone Mings with a commanding defensive header on the edge of his own 6-yard box to thump a header clear from that corner. And Jack Grealish twisting and turning inside his own penalty area and then sends a ball down the left channel for Wesley to chase. He was back defending the corner kick, and Dubravka's got plenty of time to send the ball back into the Villa half. A flick on by Shelvey, and it's Tyrone Mings, who was captain in the absence of Jack Grealish for a couple of games for Aston Villa. He's got white sweatbands on either wrist. He rolls it back to Heaton, and Heaton releases Gilbert down the right-hand side, the French fullback. A back heel from him to evade Joe Linton, to McGinn, angle ball in towards the penalty area. There is a challenge between Fernandez inside the area and Wesley. Wesley went to ground. Lee Mason, our referee tonight, not interested. 47 minutes gone. Aston Villa 2, Newcastle 0. Here comes Almiron down the right-hand side. He finds DeAndre Yedlin. Almiron again, right corner of the penalty area on his left foot. There's an urgency about Newcastle at the start of this second half. Rolled out to DeAndre Yedlin, plenty forward. There's the cross in towards the near post. Almiron was there, but so too was Konsa to get the ball clear via Matt Targett. Up towards Wesley. He can't hold the ball up, and Paul Dummett rolls it back left-footed. Wesley wanted the free kick. Palms raised to the referee, who just waves him away.
Yeah, he's got to do better. He's backing in, feels the defender, Clark. And there's a poor first touch which allowed Dummett to clean up behind him.
Targett with the foul on DeAndre Yedlin, who's enjoying a run in the side after a groin injury himself, from Seattle, Washington in the United States. Long ball forward by John Joe Shelvey, and that's a really poor set piece from him. It bounces harmlessly towards Tom Heaton, who has the ball at his feet, now collects it, all in yellow gloves as well as boots to add to his yellow shirt and shorts and socks. Here's Tyrone Mings. That's an excellent challenge, this time by Shelvey. And the ball breaks here to Joelinton, and it's a right-footed effort. It takes a flick off Konsa, goes behind for a corner, and Aston Villa trying to play the ball out from the back are causing their own problems at the moment.
Yeah, and Dean Smith in the technical area, a frustrated look on his face. There's a really poor start to the second half. Villa knew what was coming. Newcastle had to respond, but they've been really sloppy and allowed Newcastle a foothold in this game.
Shelvey, right-footed, plenty of air in it towards the back post, almost headed in by Joelinton, and it was off the chest of Federico Fernandez. It's hoisted back into the penalty area, but easy in his 6-yard box for Tom Heaton, who gathers it above his head, falls to the ground under some pressure from Kieran Clark, but the chance for Newcastle is lost. A long throw out by Heaton to the feet of Gilbert, the French right back. McGinn twisting and turning on the halfway line, stamps a pass infield to Luis. The shout of man on from the crowd. He wasn't aware of Joelinton behind him, and Newcastle build. It's Shelvey out to the right hand side to Almiron. Almiron back to Shelvey. Willems is forward on the left corner of the penalty area. Here he is. He's got yellow boots on as well. He's got Gilbert in front of him, the fullback. He rolls it back to Isaac Hayden, back in turn to Shelvey, and Conor Hourihane is waving his defence out, but the impetus of that counter-attack by Newcastle has been lost. Willems, though, with the ball at his feet on the left-hand side.
You can hear the anxiety, can't you, around the stadium. It hasn't taken much.
That's better from Aston Villa. Hourihane has forced Kieran Clark all the way back to his goalkeeper Dubravka, and then Dummett thumps a ball down the left-hand side under pressure from Wesley. But it breaks kindly for Newcastle in the centre circle. Joelinton to the right-hand side and Almiron. And the cross comes in, it's low to the near post, and it's a wild clearance by Tyrone Mings, perhaps betraying the edginess at the back by Aston Villa. It's out for a throw 10 yards away from the corner flag right-hand side for Newcastle United. The cross comes in towards the back post this time. St Maximin leaps on the corner of the 6-yard box. It's over his head. There's a foot race on now to try and keep the ball in play. He won the foot race, but then awkwardly toe pokes the ball out for an Aston Villa throw by the corner flag.
The cross from the right-hand side was too long, but the Newcastle fans who have made this trip, they'll be wondering, why on earth didn't we show this intent in the first half?
Aston Villa looking to regain their dominance and their poise in possession. Hourihane finds Target edge of the area to Jack Grealish, facing goal. He's got Isaac Hayden in front of him, and he drops it back for McGinn. Shoot, say the crowd. They remember various spectacular efforts from the Scot at Villa Park. Into the area goes Grealish, rolls it to the left-hand side. Horahan with the low cross, and it's just slipped out of play for a corner kick, and that's better from Aston Villa. That's the side we saw in the first 45 minutes.
Yeah, and where I think Grealish has really improved as a player, he used to pass the ball when he had finished with it. I think he gives it to his teammates at the right time now. Super awareness and unselfish.
And he steps over to the far side at the Holt end to take this corner kick. Both arms raised again. That has meant a far post delivery before tonight. The header comes in, it's Constant, it's saved brilliantly by Dubravka. Goodness me, where were the Newcastle United defenders? It was a super corner kick. He was just right in the centre of the goal. Free header, saved by Dubravka.
Yep, and do you know what? I think it's spot on. Steve Bruce will be asking that question. He doesn't even have to jump, Conser. 6 yards out, free header, good save.
Both arms raised again, similar area this time. This time it's Joe Linton who heads it clear, but only as far as Horahan on the left-hand side for Aston Villa. Almiron with the challenge and the foul. Steve Bruce with his arms folded. Now they go deep into his pockets on the edge of the technical area because Aston Villa, and we saw what they can do with set pieces in the first half. This one, though, further out towards the left touchline.
Another opportunity to put that Newcastle back line under pressure. Where is the leadership at the back? Missing Lascelles, who's a key man, but it shouldn't all fall apart like it has done this evening.
Horahan will take this left-footed, and he whips it into the near post area. The heads go up, and it was dangerous. It was well headed in the end, just before Dubravka could get involved. Grealish flicks it to the left-hand side to Horahan again, into McGinn. McGinn wins his side another corner, and after that nervy opening 5 minutes or so to the second half, Aston Villa are reasserting themselves on the Magpies here at Villa Park.
And who's dictating once again? Grealish. He'd be good on Strictly, I think. Jack Grealish. Wonderful feet.
There must be a blank cheque waiting for you for Strictly or going in the jungle, Chris, surely. Deeper service from the corner this time. Dubravka gets a right fist to that one, punches it out of the penalty area. It falls only to Gilbert, but that's a loose ball down the right flank that actually Conser will keep in play. Did well there, the centre-back who stayed forward from that corner kick, and the attempted cross ricochets off Dummett and goes out for a throw-in by that corner flag.
He did do well to keep that in, a percentage ball. And the touchline from Gilbert. Conser working hard, wins his team the throw-in.
The previous header clear before Dubravka, who was diving. Oh, the flick comes into Grealish. Back post is Horahan. Grealish available again. Left corner of the penalty area. Tries the curler. Dubravka straight at him into his midriff, and he immediately sprints towards the edge of his penalty area, and he's going to launch this one. It's a measured ball towards Joe Linton, but good covering from Tyrone Mings to put it back to his goalkeeper Heaton, and he strikes it right-footed to target. And again, there's that confidence playing the ball out by Aston Villa. It was a bit nervy in the first few minutes of the second half. They've settled things down. McGinn with a square ball to Horahan, and he finds on the left flank here Grealish, who's got a head of steam into the area, right-footed. Back it goes to Luis. He strikes it. It's good defending by Willems, but the ball scissors away, spins away once again for a corner kick to Aston Villa on their left-hand side.
Yeah, Grealish feeding the ball to Luis, 20-25 yards out. Didn't take it first time, took a touch, it allowed Willems the opportunity to stop the shot. He did do.
55 minutes gone at Villa Park here on 5 Live Sport. Aston Villa looking to add to their 2-0 lead. Corner into the near post. It's a poor clearance, a miscue by Shelvey at the near post, and it goes away to the other side, to Aston Villa's right-hand side for another corner kick. That might have been a heart-in-the-mouth moment for John Joe Shelvey. Got away with it. We were seeing a close-up of Steve Bruce a few moments ago on our small monitors here at Villa Park. He was in charge for 2 years here. Fired in October 2018 when Villa were 13th in the Championship, having been beaten by Fulham in the playoff final the previous May. Corner whipped into the near post. It's Shelvey who gets it clear. And now it's Jondre Yedlin on the left-hand side, who is supremely quick. So Maximum has run out of room there. It's excellent covering defending by Douglas Luiz. I think it's come off him last, has it? For a Newcastle throw-in? No, perhaps it's not actually. I think it's a Aston Villa throw right beneath us, Frederic Gilbert to take it, but Luiz is covering not only box to box but side to side very effectively.
He did well, used his body very well. So Maximum had the pace, has the legs on him, he just eased him out.
El Ghazi shoved over on the halfway line. You've heard the shrill whistle of Lee Mason. Free kick to Aston Villa, taken quickly by McGinn, who thumps a wonderful ball square across the halfway line to Target, just to change the point of attack. Horahan into Grealish. Horahan gets it back towards the centre circle to Luiz. Back to Horahan, halfway line. Then it'll come back to the right-hand side. Here's Konsa, who looks a very calm presence at the back. The youngster, 21 years of age, in for Bjorn Engels, who's injured. Mings forward, lovely ball into the centre circle. Jack Grealish has got a head of steam again towards the edge of the penalty area. He's got El Ghazi outside of him. He's got the ball under his spell just inside the penalty area. Now El Ghazi, Grealish again. Can he get a shot away? Left-footed, and he's sliced it, and it goes a good 15 yards wide. But once again, incisive football from Aston Villa.
Yeah, and he takes the ball initially really well. Such grace and poise, languid look about him on the ball. Wasn't a good effort, shifting the ball onto his left foot, trying to drill it into that far corner, and sliced it well wide.
Two big nights of Champions League football on 5 Live Sport over the next 2 nights. Tomorrow night, commentary of Manchester City against Shakhtar Donetsk, with updates of Spurs against Olympiacos. And then on Wednesday, we have the 5:55 kick-off, Valencia against Chelsea, followed at 8 by Liverpool-Napoli. That's all over the next couple of nights on 5 Live Sport. Douglas Luiz wins possession back on the corner of the area, but here come Newcastle, and it's Hayden, and he forces the save. It was a snapshot with his left foot straight to Heaton, just above his head, had to parry it and gather at the second attempt.
I tell you what, good power with his weaker left foot, right hand side of the box, and Heaton, I think, relieved that was straight at him, gathered it well.
59 minutes gone. Aston Villa 2, Newcastle United 0, as it was at half-time. Conor Horahan after 32 minutes and El Ghazi after 36. And on the balance of play, it is what you would expect, but Aston Villa will feel that perhaps a third goal is required to put it away. It's a foul by Luiz this time on Isaac Hayden, just inside the Villa half, taken quickly by Shelvey, and he finds St Maximin. He's going to have a little run here towards the side of the penalty area, and Gilbert, low cross in, Konsa with his right foot swings it at it. He tried to clear it, and it just came off the outside of his boot, and that caused Tom Heaton to dive. It wasn't on target, it's behind for a corner.
Danger down the Newcastle left. St Maximin shifting it onto his right foot, clumsy from Konsa. We shouldn't have praised him a couple of minutes ago. Gets lucky there.
That was his most uncomfortable moment so far. Shelvey, corner to the back post, and Fernandes was there, but he was bodied off it by John McGinn, who's a strong, tough little character. Fernandes could never get a step on him to get an attempt on goal. It remains 2-0.
Yeah, and a shake of the head from Shelvey, and I think that pretty much sums up Newcastle tonight. A bit of a blame culture. It's not my fault. Somebody should have got on the end of that. There has been a better response, but it just shows you cannot turn up for 45 minutes at this level and switch off and be that tepid.
I just wonder if Andy Carroll has been summoned here by Steve Bruce. He was warming up a few moments ago. Dwight Gale is also going through his paces. But Andy Carroll is the first of those 3 substitutes warming up who's gone back to the bench, and I'm just waiting to see down to our right-hand side. He appears to be fiddling with the socks, but the bib isn't off yet. But I wonder if it's Andy Carroll time. He's come on in 6 of the last 7 Premier League games as a substitute, and St Maximin is hearing it from the crowd because he's just beaten himself with a spectacular turn, and the ball has gone out of play for an Aston Villa throw.
Yeah, I think they call that well, they did call that in my day the Maradona twirl, and he twisted himself in knots there.
Throw taken infield to John McGinn. He holds off Hayden and chips a nice looking ball out to the left hand side to Matt Target into Newcastle territory. Horahan first time left footed to Jack Grealish, and Jack Grealish just so confident in possession, head up straight away, finds El Ghazi, edge of the area, switches it onto his left foot. Here's Grealish again just inside the penalty area, in again to El Ghazi. Grealish with the attempted curling effort. Dubravka was diving to his left hand side, but it was never going to test him, and it was a yard or two over the bar.
Looked really good going forward, El Ghazi. Little shift, shapes to shoot, drags it inside onto his left foot, feeds the ball in to Target, who then lays it back to Grealish, who's trying to just feed it into that far top corner. A couple of yards over the top, and here he comes, Andy Carroll.
Yep, and it's Paul Dummett who will be sacrificed, so presumably Newcastle will revert to a back four here, and Andy Carroll comes on for his 7th Premier League substitute appearance since returning to Newcastle United. A buzz goes around the away end on the far side in the lower tier of the Doug Ellis stand, but Andy Carroll, who's actually on the worst run of his Premier League career, hasn't scored for a long old time. His last Newcastle goal was in 2010, of course, before leaving for Liverpool. He gets his first touch, it's a heavy one. Douglas Luiz robs him of possession and feeds it straight to Horahan, and then Jack Grealish fouled once again, this time by DeAndre Yedlin, 10 yards inside the Aston Villa half on the left-hand side, free kick.
He hasn't scored in a long time, Andy Carroll, but in fairness, he hasn't played a lot of football, so injury prone. I think he's one of those, when his career finishes, he'll feel the attributes he has, that he's really underachieved and not done what he once promised. But if you're a Villa centre-half, you know what's coming. Can you deal with it?
Once scored a hat-trick for Newcastle against Aston Villa in a 6-0 win at St James's Park back in August 2010. 6 years at West Ham United. Aston Villa have a throw-in on their right-hand side, halfway inside the Newcastle half, to be taken by Gilbert. 64 minutes gone. 5 Live Sport, Villa 2, Newcastle 0. Into the area goes Wesley. It's played back by Shelvey. It's a hurry clearance by Fernandez, but it's a good one in the end. It falls to Joe Ellington, who steps inside of Douglas Luiz, and the ball through towards Almiron is shockingly overhit and easily behind for a goal kick, and you can hear the response of the Aston Villa fans.
I mean, really, Joe Linton, good turn inside the Villa half. Almiron had put the burners on. Really overhit that pass. Very, very poor. I suppose from Newcastle's point of view, however bad they have been, it only takes a goal. Villa 2 up, the next goal changes absolutely everything. 4-4-2. It's basic as you like. Villa have to see this one through.
It's almost a 4-2-4, Chris, isn't it, with St Maximin and Almiron either side of Joe Linton and Carroll, depending on, I suppose, whether they have possession or not. 41,821 in attendance tonight at Aston Villa, at Villa Park, and they're making plenty of noise with their side 2-0 up after 65 minutes. Willems takes the throw down the line to Joe Linton. Almiron played it forward. Andy Carroll would have been offside. It didn't reach him. Then the ball is hoiked forward, headed clear by Federico Fernandez, and then Joe Linton is fouled by Horahan. Free kick just inside the Newcastle half in the centre circle, and Joe Linton might be in a bit of trouble here, and John Joe Shelvey is signalling to the physiotherapist to come onto the field.
Ooh, I tell you what, he does catch him, Horahan, with the elbow, but I think he's using his right arm as leverage. He doesn't look, he doesn't glance at Joe Linton, where had he done, there was an argument that he would have thrown an elbow, but I thought that was okay. Others may not.
Well, he's lying, well, he's in a seated position. It looks like, is it around the mouth area, Chris, that they're seeing to here? He's got a cloth that's been placed in his mouth at the moment, maybe to soak up any blood coming from a wound. Breathing heavily, Joe Linton. Club record £40 million signing from Hoffenheim.
Yeah, look, you have to say it's been difficult for him so far, but on the evidence of what we've seen tonight, it's a pretty tough role to play. He's been very, very isolated with two unpredictable wingers either side of him. He'll be saying, you need to give me more support than that.
And at the moment, Christian Atsu, away to our left-hand side, is going through the most disinterested warm-up of you could wish to see from a substitute. Maybe this is just one of those halfway through the second half jobs where you just sent for a trot down the sideline. Joe Linton is on his feet, and he's got some tissue hanging out of his nose as he walks towards the sideline, and I think he's going to continue. Big tough guy, the Brazilian. Only Sebastian Haller and Virgil van Dijk have won more aerial duels than Joe Linton this season, and he's going to have to change his shirt, presumably because of the blood that's on the front of it, before he'll come back into the game. And he is shirtless, a muscular figure, stretching that black and white shirt over his shoulders, just waiting for the signal to come back onto the field on the halfway line. And here he comes. They are quite tight-fitting, these shirts these days. He's struggling to get that over his torso, Chris.
Yeah, he's in good nick though. Change of shirt, will it change Newcastle's luck?
And he's screaming for the ball, Joe Linton, on the left-hand side, having just come on, but Dubravka instead goes to the right-hand side, but that clearance is easily dealt with by Tyrone Mings. Here's McGinn, he's got Wesley ahead of him, so too Grealish. Possibilities here for Aston Villa. Grealish onto his right foot, edge of the area, and it's straight low to Dubravka, and the chance is lost.
Lovely pass from McGinn, outside of the left boot, over the Newcastle midfield to Grealish. He drives left-hand side of the box. He's trying to give Dubravka the eyes. He doesn't get enough power on the shot. Marcus Gale stripped as well.
Dwight Gale,
yeah.
who I was shocked to read today. He's 29 years old, Chris. Carroll, right-footed. Oh, he chested it up. The right-footed volley was superb. Anywhere either side of Heaton, and that was 2-1. Unfortunately for Carroll, it was straight down the goalkeeper's throat.
Yeah, he takes it brilliantly on his chest. Really wonderful first touch. Gilbert puts him under pressure, gets that volley off. Great technique. Straight at Heaton.
At the other end, the game becoming delightfully stretched here. 69 minutes gone, Aston Villa 2, Newcastle United 0. Begin down the left-hand side for the home side. Twisting and turning by the corner flag. Well defended though by Federico Fernandez, who sends it long down the right touch line. Easily dealt with though by Tyrone Mings on the halfway line. And here's Konsa, his centre-back partner, outside of the right boot. Along the ground to Gilbert, but he gives the ball away, trying to find El Ghazi. Instead gave it straight to Willems, and now St Maximin cutting in from the left flank, 10 yards inside the Aston Villa half. Forward it goes towards Almiron, who leapt balletically but couldn't bring the ball down on his left foot, and it's through harmlessly to Tom Heaton.
And he must be the one who's coming off. Really put him out of his misery.
Had a couple of half chances, half openings in the first half when his control let him down at the crucial moment.
Short on confidence, isn't he?
Yeah. Do you think overall short on the required quality as well, or is he a player that once he hits his stride you can see potential in?
I'm not sure now. I think great expectations when he first arrived at Newcastle hasn't happened for him, hasn't done enough.
Dwight Gale is ready to come on the halfway line. Long clearance by Heaton to the halfway line. Looked like a little shove by Willems into the back of El Ghazi. We play on. Willems into the Aston Villa half. Now Isaac Hayden back in the centre circle to Shelvey, and he springs the ball out to the right-hand side to DeAndre Yedlin. Plenty forward, plenty of height in there as well. Carroll trying to make a nuisance of himself. It's a stooping Konsa that gets the header clear, only as far as John Joe Shelvey. Down it goes to Kieran Clark, and now Jethro Willems again. Back to Clark towards the halfway line for Newcastle United. Here's Federico Fernandez. Wesley closes him down. 71 minutes gone. Newcastle trail by 2-0, scored by Horahan and El Ghazi within 4 first half minutes, both from set pieces, 32 minutes and 36 minutes. Shelvey on the halfway line, right-hand side. The diagonal ball towards Carroll is a good one. Well, Joelinton, it was set up nicely for him. He tried the right-footed volley and he got well underneath it, and that was never anywhere near close to Tom Heaton's goal. But it's Joelinton who will come off, and that has to be to do with the wound that he suffered from the errant elbow from Horahan. He's still got the tissue hanging out of his nose, and he's replaced by Dwight Gale.
Well, maybe it was because of that final effort from him. Carroll did well on the diagonal, knocked the ball down, and Joelinton, that was more of an effort you'd see on a rugby field, went miles over the bar.
I'm sure Marcus Gale enjoyed the reference there and the shout out, Chris, but it's Dwight Gale who's on.
Well, yeah, even at his age I think maybe he could have done a better job than some of these Newcastle players tonight.
Well, it's a third substitute appearance of the season for Dwight Gale, who recovered from a calf injury that curtailed the start to his season. And we're just getting to the point now where Newcastle might feel that the clock is ticking and the sands are slipping through the hourglass here at Villa Park. Dean Smith unhappy with the award of a foul by Lee Mason. John McGinn on St Maximin. It's left the forward in a heap, just clutching the lower part of his right leg.
Yeah, St Maximin, foot on top of the ball, rolls the ball. He thought out of McGinn's reach, but allowed McGinn to have a nibble, and nibble he did. I thought he got some of the ball, but some of the player as well, and an opportunity now for Newcastle to give Carroll some decent service.
St Maximin limping about as heavily as you possibly can at the moment without hopping, as he walks slowly towards the edge of the penalty area. It's a poor free kick by Willems, but it's flicked back towards the edge of the penalty area by Carroll, but the flag is up on the far side, offside against, I think, Kieran Clark. It may have been Fernandez as well, and it's a free kick to Aston Villa on the edge of their own penalty area.
Good line from Villa. It was a really poor free kick, wasn't it, from Willems, trying to hit Carroll on the diagonal. It was well behind him.
Newsflash, the rain is pouring down here in Birmingham in swirls around the floodlights, which are off the roof of the stand all the way around the ground. No pylons here at Villa Park, just the spot lamps on the roofs of the stands. The Doug Ellis on the far side, the whole 10 towards our right hand side. Here's Jack Grealish, left corner of the penalty area for Aston Villa. Captain restored to the side today after missing 2 games. Douglas Luiz caught in possession by Dwight Gale, and the ball is at the feet of Andy Carroll, who plays it to the right hand side and then gallops forward to join the attack. John Joe Shelby is the man furthest forward in the penalty area. The ball is played to the right touchline to Almiron, who is offside. He was looking across the entire line and couldn't hold his run.
Well, he couldn't have been looking across if he went that early. I mean, that sort of sums his night up.
Some very glum faces, I think it's fair to say, amongst the Toonami on the far side. Their team have barely looked like troubling the scorers tonight. McGinn runs out of room. Goal kick, I should say, to Newcastle United. 75 minutes gone, Monday night, under the lights at Villa Park. Aston Villa 2, Newcastle United 0 here on 5 Live Sport. Fernandez, right side of his own penalty area, thumps it long for the head of Andy Carroll. Awkward looking jump by him. His header could only fall at the feet of Douglas Luiz, who then
take that on it. He has to take that on his chest there. Arlo, defender dropped off. Should have the awareness to just take that one in.
Grealish, lovely give and go with Wesley. Grealish towards the edge of the penalty area, has McGinn ahead of him, tries to slide it through Willems. It'll break back to Jack Grealish here, tries to find McGinn again. He has done, second attempt, and it was a side-footed effort with the left foot by John McGinn, but in the end there was no power or accuracy, and it was easy for Dubravka.
Yeah, that was a chance. Didn't happen the first time for Grealish. The ball was cut out. Try again, and he did. And McGinn with his left foot too close to the Newcastle keeper, trying to feed it into that far corner. That was a decent opportunity.
Here come Newcastle on the right hand side through Yedlin. He rolls it down in a measured fashion down the line to Shelby, but he can't get across, and it was Horahan who was back defending. Wesley then coming deep to win possession for his side, and he then springs John McGinn into space towards the halfway line. Gilbert now running towards the penalty area, desperate to get back is Saint-Maximin. He cuts back onto his left foot, then his right. Gilbert, the cross goes in, it's behind everybody, but on the left-hand side, Conor Hourihane has all the time in the world. Level with the edge of the penalty area, rolls it in field to Jack Grealish. Hourihane has continued his run towards the byline. Low cross comes in, Wesley saved by Dubravka. What a chance! 6 yards out. The goalkeeper to beat. Either side of him, it's a goal. Dubravka makes the save, and ultimately it's a goal kick.
Magnificent from Dubravka. Grealish, measured pass again to Hourihane down the left-hand side. He feeds the ball perfectly across to Wesley. Doesn't have to break his stride. Level with the near post. He has to score. He gives Dubravka the chance to save it with his legs. And Dubravka keeps his side hanging on in there. Crucial save, but should have been game over.
Almost an early birthday present for Wesley, who turns 23 years old tomorrow. Hasn't scored in his last 4 since that brace in the 5-1 win at Norwich. Is that McGinn who's down on the halfway line, or is it... Oh, it's Hourihane, is it? No, Gilbert, third attempt. Third time lucky there, Chris. Gilbert's on his back. He's got his forearms over his face at the moment.
He took one in the chops, I think, but wasteful from Wesley. Just see Saint-Maximin. I don't know whether he catches him with his arm or whether it's at the high boot. Gilbert saying he's not happy. He threw an arm at him. Thought it was accidental. I have to say, he's the one Newcastle player, Saint-Maximin, who really has put everything into this game. He's looked their biggest threat. He's defended. He's had to.
Well, the torment is over. Miguel Almiron trots towards the sideline. A shake of the hand with Christian Atsu, the third and final change for Steve Bruce and Newcastle United. 78 and a half minutes gone. They trail Aston Villa by 2-0.
He had to go with Atsu. Miron, I think, relieved to come off. It's been awful.
Dean Smith has kept all of his substitutes on the bench so far. Still the starting 11 out there. Here's Saint-Maximin twisting and turning away from Douglas Luiz. Gilbert back on his feet, he appears to be fine. Saint-Maximin plays it to the right hand side to Atsu. Saint-Maximin continues his run into the penalty area, right hand side of it. Hourihane is the defender, lovely bit of skill, dragged back, he gets to the byline and the low cross to the near post. Atsu, it came at him all too quickly, and it's only a flicked header that eventually goes out for a throw-in on the Aston Villa right, but lovely skill by Saint-Maximin.
Oh, it's brilliant feet, it really is. Squares Hourihane up, drifts past him. Very little space to work in. Goes past him and whips a low ball in. Atsu's just come on, level with the near post, stoops to try and head it in. Doesn't get enough on the header.
Here's Willems, and he's fouled right in front of us by Wesley. A yard inside from the touchline, 15 yards inside the Aston Villa half on the Newcastle left, and it's a yellow card to Wesley as Willems hops to his feet. He looks in tremendous pain.
Why is he protesting? Willems whacked by Wesley.
Willems is still just favouring that right leg. Appears to be okay. He's going to shake it off, and it's John Joe Shelby who has the opportunity of just rolling it to Willems here and then getting the ball back and improving his angle, because Aston Villa have dropped very deep indeed. So Shelby does so, but then sends a rather floaty ball towards the corner of the area, and Andy Carroll.
That has to be a foul. It's ridiculous. Lee Mason, the referee.
Jack Grealish in pursuit of Dubravka, who's 10 yards outside his penalty area, brings the ball under control and does well to find DeAndre Yedlin.
Well, Wesley there just shoved Andy Carroll when he was jumping for the ball.
Kieran Clark has stayed forward in the attack after the set piece, and it was Gilbert who was playing him onside. It dropped a little deep there, the Frenchman. Here's McGinn, right hand side for Aston Villa, and the ball's onto the far side diagonally towards Wesley. And Wesley, the ball trickles towards the sideline. He brings it under control and finds Hourihane, who drops it back to target. And now Jack Grealish, and they're taking their time here, Aston Villa. There's no rush, there's no urgency to get a third with 9 minutes remaining, leading by 2-0 here. Remember, they've lost 3 games in a row. This will be a vital 3 points that will see them 4 points clear of the bottom 3. Albeit, as we said before, Chris, 2 of those defeats were against Manchester City and Liverpool. The other one would have stung, and Dean Smith mentioned it in his programme notes, to lose to West Midlands rivals Wolverhampton Wanderers at Molineux last week.
Yeah, but no shame in that. But what we have seen, we've seen a confident performance. Needed a response. Dean Smith, he's got one.
Willems heads it clear. Shelvey hooks it even further upfield, but only as far as Konsa. And then Shelvey, has he committed the foul? Yes. On Konsa, 15 yards infield from the right touchline, 10 yards inside the Newcastle United half of play, and they're just going to take their time about this. Aston Villa, no urgency, no hurry, a 2-goal cushion, and they're heading towards 3 points. Unless Newcastle United under Steve Bruce, the former Villa manager, can do something very special in the final stages.
Newcastle in the first half, no urgency, no hurry, no intent.
Horahan is going to kill this in left-footed. He's got a goal and assist already in the game so far. Newcastle defending on the edge of their own penalty area. Horahan curls it in towards Dubravka. Should be easy for the goalkeeper, and is. Straight at him, just a little bit too much on that. And Dubravka rolls it out to the unmistakable figure of John Joe Shelvey on his right foot, and immediately looks for Andy Carroll. The pass isn't on, so he floats the ball out towards St Maximin, but that gives Frederic Gilbert all the time in the world to get underneath it and to head it into the Newcastle half, but straight to Kieran Clark, and his Willems, and then a really heavy back pass by Hayden is going to go all the way out for a corner. Really poor by Isaac Hayden. He's overhit the pass, and immediately we get a close-up of Steve Bruce, who is just motionless in the technical area, and then just stares down at his toes, scratches his nose, and I think we can read his mind on that one.
Well, horrible from Hayden. The ball rolled into him. He can't blame the pitch, and he over-hits the...
I think there is one culprit that all eyes are on at the moment, and he's looking at me with absolute disgust as our technical expert furiously tries to plug various wires into various ports. And we're back with you, and it's a free kick. No addition to the scoreline. It's Grealish curling in a free kick to the back post, and it's a leaping Dubravka who palms it away only as far as Tyrone Mings on the left hand side of the penalty area. He swings across towards the edge of the penalty area. Horahan with the left footed volley, and it's high and over the bar and into the Holt end. Inside the final 5 minutes here at Villa Park, Aston Villa 2, Newcastle United 0, which was the situation at half time. Steve Bruce has made all 3 substitutions. They haven't worked so far, and Dean Smith has stuck with the same 11 for the entire game so far, and this will be a vital 3 points for Aston Villa to end that run of 3 defeats. Ball played forward only as far as Kieran Clark, who spins away from the challenge of Wesley, rolls it back to his goalkeeper Dubravka, all in green, chips it forward into the Aston Villa half. It's Konsa who comes away with the ball, and it's a couple of Newcastle players, Carroll and Gale, who bump into each other and both fall to the ground, both looking at each other, blaming each other, but we play on. John Joe Shelvey on the left hand side, right footed diagonal ball towards the edge of the penalty area. Great call by Tom Heaton. Tyrone Mings was about to deal with that and then just ducked out of the way. Applause echo around Villa Park, and Heaton can take his time, bounces the ball once with his right hand. 3.5 minutes remaining of the 90. Dean Smith, corner of his technical area, a calm presence, arms folded. He will be delighted, I'm sure, with what he's seen so far, but that's a little frustrating for him. His side have conceded a free kick inside the Newcastle half, and the Magpies are running out of time. But one goal here could set up a barnstorming finish, as we so often see in the Premier League. Dubravka sends it forward. I'll bring Chris Sutton in a moment when we've got the technicals sorted out. Here's Andy Carroll to Dwight Gale. St Maximin in the penalty area. It's an excellent challenge by Tyrone Mings, and St Maximin, not for the first time, comes away from that challenge in the penalty area limping, but he appears to be okay now. Kieran Clark flicks it down the line to St Maximin. Ahead of him, Dwight Gale is in an offside position. Excellent challenge by Gilbert. It's a throw in to Newcastle 10 yards away from the corner flag. It stays 2-0, 2.5 minutes to go. Chris Sutton, I believe you're back with us.
Am I? Yes, I think something had blown. Fortunate for the nation. for a couple of moments, but still the same situation here.
Willems, the flick on of his throw-in. Atsu's there on the edge of the 6-yard box. It's well defended by Aston Villa. That was an awkward looking ball, and I think perhaps the foot was raised by Christian Atsu, and it's a free kick to Aston Villa. Time ticking away. We're approaching the final 2 minutes of the 90 here at Villa Park. Aston Villa 2, Newcastle 0.
Yeah, and this will be such a big 3 points for Dean Smith and Aston Villa, back on track, and the performance has been very, very good. It's all about the result before the game. You can be pleased with the composure his team have shown.
Heaton's long clearance as the Holt end fire up a chant that can be heard all around Villa Park, and it's Wesley on the Aston Villa right. First time ball by McGinn into the feet of Grealish. He gets it back. Jack Grealish is almost through on goal. It was a chip by McGinn. It was just over the head of Grealish, but those two combining well again, but this time to no avail.
Yeah, really good link up, McGinn and Grealish. He's been the key figure, best player on the pitch again for Aston Villa.
They'd go up a couple of places in the table to 15th Aston Villa, but they would crucially be 4 points clear of the bottom three. What a ball that is by Horahan, right-footed. A diagonal across the left-hand side to Jack Grealish, and he plays it to the edge of the area to McGinn, who tried to play it one side of the defender and run round the other, but didn't quite get it right. It was Fernandez, the defender, and now Newcastle can break clear through John Joe Shelvey, and he rolls a relaxed-looking ball to the right-hand side, and Christian Atsu will have a run here at Horahan. Atsu towards the left-hand side, chips it out to Saint-Maximin. He'll have a run here at Gilbert, right, left corner of the penalty area, twisting and turning, shows too much of that though to El Ghazi, the scorer of the second goal, and he's easily dispossessed.
Well, I tell you what, Willems, the left back, could give him a hand.
El Ghazi forward to Grealish, who senses the presence of Willems. He's going to just trot across towards the touchline on the right hand side, then cuts back in field and sends a lovely ball, but was he stamped upon by Willems? Play on, says the referee. Gilbert into the penalty area, and it's repelled at the near post, and it's going to be a corner kick, but we're going to come back here. This may be one for VAR as Henry Lansbury will come on. We'll have 3 minutes of time added on. Was there a stamp here on Jack Grealish by Jethro Willems?
Well, first of all, you have to question Willems' defending. Just sat off Grealish, let him shift the ball, and then Grealish, lovely pass with the outside of his right foot, and Willems, there's a little bit of afters there. That's whether it was intentional or not. He was certainly caught, Jack Grealish. Good to see him back on his feet.
Well, thanks to our little power surge here, our monitors are down, so we can't tell if there's a VAR. Well, they will be looking at it at the Premier League Match Centre at Stockley Park, of course, VAR, but I don't see Lee Mason pressing his finger to his ear. And Conor Horahan is getting a standing ovation, fully deserved, from all four sides of Villa Park. A goal and an assist. Here in stoppage time, he's replaced by Henry Lansbury. A quality performance.
Yep, classy. Conor Horahan, wonderful free kick. His job well and truly done tonight.
Lansbury with the ball at his feet straight away, the right corner of the penalty area, and he finds Jack Grealish. Here's McGinn, right touchline. Grealish again, down by the corner flag. He's got Willems snapping at his heels. The challenge comes in by Atsu. Willems hooks it clear, only as far as Lansbury. His header finds Gilbert, and I think he'd spotted maybe Wesley on the back post, but his volleyed cross was too straight, and it's easy for Dubravka. Rolls the ball out to the edge of his own penalty area, thumps it into the Aston Villa half, and it's an ungainly looking Andy Carroll who trips over his own feet, and the ball falls easily to Target, sends it down the left hand side. The header by Fernandez, hooked forward again by Shelvey. One here for Dwight Gale to chase. Was he pushed over by Tyrone Mings? Similar situation to the free kick in the first half, from which Aston Villa took the lead, but this time Lee Mason is unmoved and Aston Villa can bring the ball clear. Here's Grealish on the right hand side. It's incredible. The ball is attracted to him like a magnet. Here's El Ghazi, edge of the area. Important foot in by John Joe Shelvey, and he rolls the ball out to Saint-Maximin, and we're well into the 3 minutes of time added on here at Villa Park. John Joe Shelvey outside of the right boot to Christian Atsu on the right hand side. Atsu running here at Matt Target, cuts in on the left foot, plenty forward. They're reluctant to get a ball into the penalty area here, Newcastle United, despite the presence of Shelby and Gale and, most importantly, Andy Carroll. Natsu, he gets the shot away. Brilliant block by Target, who tracked him all the way across field. And here come Aston Villa in search of a third goal. Intelligent flick of the right boot by Grealish to find McGinn, because Wesley was in an offside position. Here's Grealish again. He's got McGinn alongside him into the penalty area. John McGinn with the left foot, and it's narrowly wide of the far post, and it stays at 2-0.
They've been brilliant, the pair of them. McGinn, good driving run, feeds the ball in to Grealish. He reverses the ball back to him in a wide position. He's trying to pass it into that far corner, left-hand side of the box, and he's not too far away at all.
If you're going to be hypercritical of Jack Grealish tonight, he's had plenty of opportunities in and around the penalty area and hasn't taken any of them, has he, in combination with McGinn?
I think you're being hypercritical.
He has been superb tonight in retaining possession for his side. Rolls the ball back to Tyrone Mings, left-footed, hammers it upfield. Oh, McGinn could be in. Chests it down, has to go back and retrieve it. McGinn on his left foot, curls in. Oh, it's just an inch or so wide. I thought for a split second that was inside the post. It was just wide, and it's the final kick of the game. And Aston Villa, deserved, convincing 2-0 winners over Newcastle United. And Villa end that disappointing run of 3 straight defeats. And they go 4 points clear of the bottom 3, and I don't think Newcastle United or Steve Bruce, who walks down the sideline in front of us here, Chris, can have any complaints at all tonight.
Well, I think Steve Bruce, he'll feel humiliated the way his team have performed tonight. I mean, he would have been quite entitled to chuck cabbages at his own team at half-time. They responded a little bit in the second half. Having said that, Villa really deserved their victory. Classy goal from Conor Hourihane, the first one. Brilliant delivery from a free kick for the second goal. El Ghazi poking it into the roof of the net. But Villa needed the 3 points. They got the 3 points, and Dean Smith got the performance to match.
Conor Hourihane, after 32 minutes, a nice free kick move with Jack Grealish, curled it inside the near post for 1-0, and then he put it on a plate for El Ghazi in the 6-yard box from a free kick from the left side of the penalty area after 36. That was all the goal scoring. Dean Smith down in front of us, clapping above his head, hands now in his pockets. A convincing win mark for Aston Villa here on Monday night. Final score, Villa 2, Newcastle